Port Charles is about to explode with revelations that no one ever saw coming, and the fallout will be epic, emotional, and unforgettable. Grab your espresso and buckle up, because what's about to happen will rock the Corinthos family, the Sidwell family, and everyone caught in the crossfire. In true General Hospital style, two young men who have stirred mystery and suspicion finally get their true identities revealed, and the truth changes everything. Let's break it all down in a creative, in-depth journey that spans secrets, heartbreak, confrontation, and ultimately, hope. It starts, as it often does in Port Charles, with a whisper. Selena Wu, always a master observer, picks up on something odd. Vaughn has been asking too many questions about his past, digging into records that should have been sealed. Meanwhile, Marco, whose loyalty to Sonny seemed forged overnight, has been acting strangely protective of the mob boss. Selena brings her suspicions to Carly. At first, Carly dismisses them. She's already balancing too much. Nina's continued schemes, the fallout from Drew's shooting, and Michael's relentless crusade to protect his family. But then Selena says words that stick in Carly's head. You should ask Sonny why Marco looks at him like that. It's not loyalty, Carly, it's longing. Those words haunt Carly late into the night. She knows longing. She's seen it in the eyes of sons wanting to know their fathers. And she starts to wonder, could Marco be more than Sonny's new ally? Marco himself can't stop the memories that flood his mind. A young boy sitting outside a courthouse, waiting for a father who never shows. His mother, tearful but resolute, telling him that his father can never know about him. As Marco watches Sonny handle family business, something aches inside him. All his life, Marco heard stories about Sonny Corinthos, the powerful Don, the complicated man who protects his own fiercely but can destroy enemies without mercy. For years, Marco's mother, Lucia, kept him away from Port Charles, fearful that Sonny's world would swallow him. But after her death, Marco was left with only two things: a worn photograph of Sonny Corinthos as a young man and a sealed letter addressed to Sonny, explaining everything. At first, Marco couldn't bring himself to deliver it. Instead, he came to Port Charles under another name, choosing to observe the man he suspects is his father. But as Sonny's enemies close in, including Sidwell, whose ambition to dismantle Sonny's empire knows no bounds, Marco realizes silence may no longer protect anyone. Vaughn, meanwhile, is driven by a different desperation. Adopted at birth, Vaughn was raised by a couple who loved him deeply. Yet something always felt off. Growing up, he'd catch glimpses of medical files and documents that didn't match the story he'd been told. As an adult, Vaughn used his investigative skills to dig deeper. What he discovered shocked him: falsified birth records, missing hospital files, and an anonymous payment that kept everything buried. Determined to find answers, Vaughn confronted his adoptive parents. Tearfully, they confessed they'd been told never to contact Vaughn's biological father, a dangerous man named Sidwell, whose enemies would do anything to hurt him. Vaughn was stunned. His entire life, he'd known Sidwell as the ruthless crime boss fighting to take over Sonny's territory. Could that man really be his father? The weight of that possibility fuels Vaughn's next moves, infiltrating Sidwell's organization, getting closer, and finding proof. One rainy night in Port Charles, Vaughn follows Sidwell to a private warehouse. There, Sidwell meets with a man who has an envelope Vaughn instantly recognizes as the missing piece of his past. Hidden in the shadows, Vaughn records everything. But when Sidwell leaves, Vaughn seizes the moment, confronts the courier, and wrestles the envelope from him. Inside, hospital records, a paternity test, and undeniable proof. Sidwell is Vaughn's biological father. Rage and grief collide inside Vaughn. His whole life, he believed he'd been abandoned. Now he learns Sidwell orchestrated the cover-up to keep Vaughn safe, but never came back for him. Fueled by heartbreak, Vaughn decides it's time to confront the man himself. Elsewhere, Marco finally reaches his own breaking point. After an attempt on Sonny's life fails thanks to Marco's quick thinking, Sonny thanks him, calling him family, a word that cuts deep. Later that night, Marco finds Sonny alone at the boxing gym. Hands shaking, Marco pulls out the letter his mother left behind. With every word, His voice trembles. My mother, her name was Lucia. She met you years ago in Bensonhurst. And I'm your son. Sonny stands frozen. The name Lucia hits him like a truck, memories flooding back. A beautiful woman he loved once, a goodbye that was never meant to be permanent. Sonny opens the letter, reading Lucia's confession of love and fear. Her words speak of protecting Marco from Sonny's world, never telling him for fear he'd be drawn into violence. When Sonny looks up, tears glisten in his eyes. Marco, my son? Marco nods, silent. In the days that follow, Sonny wrestles with guilt, grief, and relief. He missed Marco's childhood, every milestone, every scraped knee, and triumph. But Marco is here now, and Sonny refuses to let him go. Marco, for his part, struggles with what this means. Sonny isn't just the father he dreamed of. He's also a man who made choices Marco doesn't fully understand. Yet when Sonny invites Marco to the family dinner, there's a sense of healing. Dante, Michael, and Christina meet their new half-brother. Tension hangs in the air at first, but slowly, it softens. Marco doesn't ask for acceptance, but he earns respect by being honest. Even Carly, initially cautious, sees Marco's devotion to Sonny and the family. Her instinct tells her Marco is genuine. For Sonny, it's a bittersweet gift, a second chance at fatherhood with a son he never knew he had. Vaughn's confrontation with Sidwell is far darker. At a private estate outside Port Charles, Vaughn storms into Sidwell's office. The envelope of proof in hand, he throws it onto the desk. Sidwell, typically unflappable, goes pale as Vaughn snarls. Why? Why did you abandon me? Sidwell's voice breaks as he admits what he did. His enemies had already killed Vaughn's mother. To protect Vaughn, Sidwell arranged the adoption and sealed the records. But he watched from afar, always ensuring Vaughn was safe. Vaughn feels no comfort in these words. You could have come for me, he whispers. Sidwell's face hardens. I couldn't risk your life, Vaughn. The words hang in the air, painful and insufficient. Vaughn turns away, grappling with the truth. He's the son of a criminal mastermind whose choices destroyed countless families, including his own. But the confrontation sparks something unexpected in Sidwell. Regret. Sidwell, so often a man without conscience, begins to question everything. Vaughn's presence cracks the armor Sidwell wore for decades. Yet father and son remain at odds. Vaughn cannot forgive easily, and Sidwell cannot change overnight. As news of both revelations spreads, Port Charles buzzes. Marco's status as Sonny's son complicates alliances. Jason, once Sonny's right hand, finds himself wondering if Marco will replace him. Michael, who has had a complicated relationship with Sonny, faces jealousy and acceptance. But Marco's sincerity wins over many. Unlike other new arrivals, Marco has no desire to seize power. His only goal is to know his father and protect him. Meanwhile, Vaughn becomes a wild card. Torn between exposing Sidwell's crimes and seeking connection, Vaughn decides to do something unexpected. He offers Sidwell a chance to change. Help me end the cycle. Walk away before it destroys both of us. Sidwell's response is uncertain, but something in Vaughn's words haunts him. Selena Wu, ever the power broker, realizes Marco's loyalty to Sonny makes him an asset and a threat. She approaches Marco with an offer to work together. Marco refuses, unwilling to betray Sonny. This puts Marco squarely on Selena's watch list. Carly, moved by Marco's courage, becomes an unexpected ally. She knows what it means to fight for family. For Vaughn, the road is harder. His relationship with Sidwell remains strained. Yet Vaughn begins to channel his pain into purpose, deciding to keep an eye on Sidwell, not as an enforcer, but as a reluctant guardian. Port Charles, always a city of secrets, learns to live with two more. One evening, Sonny invites Marco to the bridge, where Sonny often goes to reflect. They speak openly about regret, fear, and hope. I can't change the years we lost, Sonny says quietly. But I can promise you, you won't lose me now. Marco, who grew up longing for this moment, nods. That's all I wanted, Dad. The word dad feels new on his tongue, but right. Vaughn faces his own moment of truth. He visits the grave of his mother, a woman whose face he barely remembers. Placing flowers, he whispers, "I found him, Mom." But he's not the hero I hoped for. And yet, Vaughn decides not to let Sidwell's sins define him. He turns his back on Sidwell's criminal world, seeking a new life beyond Port Charles. Whether Sidwell will let him go remains unknown. As summer dawns in Port Charles, both young men begin anew. Marco, once an outsider, finds himself part of family dinners, strategy meetings, and quiet moments with Sonny. Vaughn, still wounded but resolute, steps into a future shaped by truth rather than shadows. Port Charles never forgets, and secrets never stay buried forever. But sometimes, the truth, however painful, can set people free. Marco, Sonny's son, becomes a symbol of hope, that even in darkness, family can heal. Vaughn, Sidwell's biological son, embodies courage, refusing to repeat his father's mistakes. In the end, these two men, whose lives were shaped by secrets, remind us that identity isn't about blood alone, but the choices we make when we finally know who we are.